Over 300 murders linked to one man. This staggering number is not just a statistic, it represents a horrifying reality that has left an indelible mark on history. Each life lost tells a story of unimaginable pain and suffering, a story that echoes through the corridors of time. These chilling words echo the horrifying truth about Pedro Alonso López, a man whose name has become synonymous with fear and dread. Known as the Monster of the Andes, López's reign of terror spanned across multiple countries, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake, a name synonymous with unimaginable cruelty and terror. His methods were as brutal as they were calculated, preying on the most vulnerable members of society. The sheer scale of his crimes is almost beyond comprehension, a dark chapter in the annals of criminal history. His hunting ground, the Andes Mountains of South America. This vast and rugged terrain provided the perfect cover for his heinous activities, allowing him to operate with impunity for years. The remote villages and isolated communities were easy targets for his malevolent intentions, his prey young innocent girls. These were children with dreams and futures, cruelly snatched away by a man driven by dark impulses. The innocence of youth was shattered, leaving behind a legacy of grief and loss that still haunts the families and communities affected. His legacy, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul. The graveyards stand as silent witnesses to his atrocities, each tombstone a testament to a life cut short. The overcast skies mirror the sorrow that hangs heavy over the land. López's crimes, spanning the late 20th century, continue to haunt the region, a stark testament to the depravity a human being is capable of. The changing weather over the mountains seems to reflect the turbulent emotions of those left behind, a constant reminder of the storm that once raged through their lives, a stark testament to the depravity a human being is capable of. The abandoned houses and crumbling walls bear the scars of his reign, each broken window and piece of graffiti telling a story of fear and abandonment. The desolate backdrops serve as a grim reminder of the lives disrupted and destroyed. His story is not for the faint of heart. It is a tale that delves into the darkest corners of the human psyche, exploring the depths of evil that one man can reach. The empty streets and deserted playgrounds symbolize the void left in the wake of his actions, a haunting silence that speaks volumes. It is a descent into the abyss of human cruelty, a journey that forces us to confront the uncomfortable truths about the nature of evil. The dense fog and stormy skies create an atmosphere of foreboding, mirroring the darkness that López brought into the world, a journey into the mind of a true monster. As we peer into the dark cave and shadowy valley, we are reminded of the hidden depths of human depravity. López's story serves as a grim warning, a reminder that monsters can walk among us, hidden in plain sight. López's reign of terror began quietly, almost unnoticed, amidst the sprawling slums of Colombia. Young girls, many living on the streets, began to disappear. Their families, trapped in poverty and despair, had little recourse but to whisper their fears to the wind. As quickly as it began in Colombia, the disappearances spread south like a deadly plague carried by the wind. Ecuador, Peru, the pattern remained the same. Young girls, their lives tragically cut short, vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of grief and terror. López's victims shared a horrifying commonality, their age and innocence. These were children who should have been playing, laughing, and enjoying the carefree days of their youth. Instead, they became the targets of a predator whose cruelty knew no bounds. He specifically targeted young girls, often between the ages of 9 and 13, the age when they are most trusting and vulnerable. These girls, with their bright futures ahead of them, were lured into a nightmare from which they would never awaken. López used simple yet effective methods to lure them away, offering promises of sweets or small trinkets. These innocent gestures masked his sinister intentions, making it easy for him to gain their trust and lead them away from safety. His motives, shrouded in a darkness that defies comprehension, remain unclear. What drives a person to commit such heinous acts? The answer is as elusive as it is disturbing. Some speculate a twisted sense of power fueled his actions. the perverse pleasure derived from dominating the most vulnerable. This need for control and dominance over those who could not defend themselves painted a grim picture of his psyche. Others point to a deeply rooted hatred of women, stemming from a traumatic childhood marked by abuse and abandonment. This theory suggests that his actions were a misguided attempt to exert control over the pain and helplessness he once felt. Whatever the reason, his crimes stand as a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. They serve as a grim reminder of the evil that can lurk behind a seemingly benign facade, and the importance of protecting the innocent from those who would do them harm. In 1980, after years of evading capture, López's reign of terror came to an abrupt end in the bustling marketplaces of Ambato, Ecuador. A group of vigilant market women, suspicious of López's interactions with a young girl, alerted the authorities. What they uncovered sent shockwaves across the continent. López, initially dismissive and arrogant, cracked under interrogation, leading authorities to a mass grave. The sheer number of victims discovered, over 53 in that single location, confirmed their worst fears. They had caught a monster. Section 5. Inside the Mind of a Monster, Diagnosis Psychopath. During his time in custody, López underwent a battery of psychological evaluations. The diagnosis was chillingly clear: psychopathy. He exhibited a complete lack of remorse or empathy, his crimes recounted with a detached calmness that sent shivers down the spines of seasoned investigators. He seemed to relish in the horror he inflicted, finding perverse pleasure in recounting the gruesome details of his crimes. To López, his victims were not human beings but mere objects, playthings to satisfy his own twisted desires. Section 6. Justice or a travesty? A shockingly short sentence. Despite the overwhelming evidence and the sheer scale of his crimes, the judicial system delivered a verdict that left many in disbelief. López received a shockingly lenient sentence, 16 years, the maximum allowed by Ecuadorian law at the time. This decision was met with widespread criticism and raised questions about the effectiveness of the legal framework in dealing with such heinous acts. The decision sparked outrage and disbelief, a stark reminder of the often inadequate response to crimes of such horrific magnitude. People took to the streets, their voices echoing the collective frustration and anger of a society that felt betrayed by its own justice system. Many argued that 16 years could never atone for the hundreds of lives lost, the pain and suffering inflicted on countless families. The sentence seemed like a mere slap on the wrist for someone who had caused so much devastation. The countless families torn apart by grief and despair were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. The emotional toll was immeasurable, and the sense of injustice only deepened their wounds. It was a slap in the face of justice, a bitter pill to swallow for a society still reeling from the horrors he had inflicted. The lenient sentence highlighted the glaring gaps in the legal system and the urgent need for reform. As the community grappled with the aftermath, the call for change grew louder. People demanded stricter laws and harsher penalties for such grave offences, hoping to prevent future travesties of justice. The case of López became a rallying cry for those seeking a more just and equitable society. Section 7. Released into the shadows, the monster walks free. Adding insult to injury, López was released in 1994 after serving only 14 years of his sentence for good behaviour. Deemed cured by prison psychiatrists, he was deported to his native Colombia, where he disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and lingering fear. His current whereabouts remain unknown. Some believe he is dead, his reign of terror finally at an end. Others fear he is still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to claim his next victim. Section 8. Unanswered questions, the mystery of the missing confessions. Adding to the unsettling nature of the case is the mystery surrounding López's full confession. While in custody, he claimed to have murdered over 300 girls, providing chilling details about his crimes. However, the full transcripts of these confessions have vanished, leaving many to question the true extent of his brutality. Were they misplaced, lost to bureaucratic incompetence? Or did someone somewhere make a concerted effort to erase the full horror of López's crimes from history? The truth, much like López himself, remains elusive. Section 9. A legacy of terror. The monster's shadow remains. The case of Pedro Alonso López continues to haunt the collective memory of South America. He is a chilling reminder of the evil that can lurk behind a human face, the fragility of innocence in a world often indifferent to suffering. Though his whereabouts remain unknown, his legacy endures, a chilling testament to the capacity for cruelty that resides within the human heart. The monster of the Andes may be gone, but the terror he inflicted lingers, a chilling reminder that some wounds never truly heal.